Thank you for tuning in to Words of Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm Sia.
And I'm Michelle. Today we'll be discussing
politics,
government,
voting,
and all that jazz. Federal voting's happening on Monday, so be a useful citizen and vote.
Yes, go out there and vote.
It's one of your rights. Some people I've spoken to, a lot of them aren't voting. A lot of them are voting, but they don't know who they're voting for. They don't know what the party stands for. It's just really interesting how a lot of young adults don't understand how politics work in their country.
Yes, and we will be comparing Canada to the States. It's just one thing that I've realized is that ever since Obama started running, about, 8 years ago now?
Yep.
They really got the youth involved into it, and that really was a game changer. And I feel like personally Canada needs to do something like that to get the youths involved in what's going on. Because Michelle will tell you what Stephen Harper has done for our country.
Well, yeah, Stephen Harper.
You should see her face right now.
That's all. No, honestly, that's all I have to say. If you're young and you use social media or you're on the internet, you see a bunch of different articles, just different ad campaigns for the conservatives or against the conservatives. There's actually an article I read. It's a website. I believe it's called don't-be-a-fucking-idiot.ca. And it was a really sweary yet accurate one-page article on all the things that Harper has done to kind of screw up our government. Like, he had a $127 billion deficit. So that's a lot of money. Also, when he first started, he said he was going to bring more jobs into Canada. And since he started, over 200,000 Canadian citizens are out of jobs, more than when he first started.
I feel like Harper is the silent Bush. Because
silent Bush. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that, everyone voted for Harper at the beginning, and at first we're all like, oh, Canada's perfect, all happy, dandy, and whatnot. And 8 years later? Is that what I'd say?
Yes.
8 years later, look at where the economy is. No one expected that. Bush now, on the other hand, he was just loud and out there. You just knew Bush was stupid and he was going to do something that was not going to help the country. So you just knew it and you were prepared for it. And you just, all you could do is sit and watch. In Canada, I feel like people just now are starting to realize it. We were just downtown Vancouver and people are marching and
stop Harper.
Yes.
Fire Harper. Yes. Big signs. Honk if you hate Harper.
All that stuff.
Yeah. But something else I want to bring out too. It's really funny because Miss Universe calls for the First Nations to vote out Harper. So Ashley Collingbull, who is Cree, and she grew up in poverty on reserves, she basically said that the Conservative government, and Harper particularly, he doesn't care about women. A lot of women in reserves have been raped or women are going missing, and he just doesn't address it.
It's interesting that you say that, not to cut you off, but I was watching a documentary, I believe. No, actually, sorry, scratch that. It was not a documentary. I was reading the news, and a native who lived on the reserve was saying that she went on the website, the government website, to try and put an address in to vote.
Yep.
And it showed up that her address didn't exist because the reserve is a private land in that sense. So basically it doesn't show up on that. Now, my thing is, who cares if it's a private land? Does that mean that the people don't have the right to vote? So then I kept reading, and it was saying that how the Conservative Party are taking tactical action to have it that way.
Yeah.
That the natives. So then this little girl started her own campaign with a bunch of her friends on the reserve. And now they're educating other natives on other reserves saying, you can make a difference. You can vote. If we all gather together, we can use this, because it is just not fair. How is it that someone who lives on this land, which by the way was stolen or taken from them.
Yes. Because they are real Canadians.
They are real Canadians.
Native Canadians.
Now, I'm not saying that we've made it better or whatnot. That's not the argument I'm saying. saying. What I'm trying to argue here is that they have the right to vote, and they have the right to have their address listed on the government website.
Yes, I agree with that too. They handed out, what are they, postcards to say if you're eligible to vote, but you had to have,
yes,
your ID has to have
your ID
the
has to
exact address that was on that postcard.
Yes.
So, for instance, my boyfriend's address is registered in Ladysmith on Vancouver Island. That's where he's from. So he can't vote because he didn't realize that. And
I
then
can't vote either.
He couldn't change his address soon enough to do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So I have the same situation when I went to Edmonton to visit my family. The card came in and I was like, oh, I can vote. Okay, amazing. And then it strictly states on there, make sure your ID matches the address that's on this card.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so that means I can't vote. What happened to you just have an ID to show that this is who you are?
Yeah.
And just vote.
Like you said, they are taking extreme action to help their cause because they know that a lot of people want change, which is the NDP's slogan right now, real change or time for change. Yeah.
I don't know much about the NDP, I'm going to be honest.
Well, it's funny. The NDP, they are left-wing. Back in the day, what they wanted to do was support unionized workers, the middle working class. But they've actually drifted away from the whole union thing. And actually, really funny thing, too, like, you know, how a lot of people want Harper out. The NDP reached out to the Liberals. And so they said, yeah, we'll join together, join forces, and we'll have two of us. Yeah, basically, they said we'll have two leaders.
Really?
But the Liberals didn't want that. So they said no. And so that's why there are the three main parties. Of course, there's the Green Party as well. And I actually really love the Green Party because, you know, they bring out a lot of environmental awareness. And a lot of our money comes from, you know, lumber and tourism. And we have a lot of wildlife. And Canada's known for that. At the same time, people don't really care about that. It's all about
It is. That's what it comes down to. We're not also just discussing the Canadian government, but we will be discussing the American government and the voting.
Yep. That's true. Just to end this then, I guess, just to give you a little bit about the Liberals.
Yes.
So they want to support the middle class people. Also, one of the things that Trudeau wants to do is he wants to legalize marijuana, which would be good. But at the same time, if that was to happen, then Canadian citizens would be taxed on it.
Oh.
But, yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't know. One of the things that people are saying for Trudeau isn't ready yet is that he doesn't know how to balance a budget. But some of the ads you see, like watching hockey, you see a bunch of conservatives attacking Trudeau, saying, like, he's not ready to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, being pretty savage on there. So
It's so funny because I feel like the same amount of memes that are out there for Donald Trump is equivalent to the amount that's out here for the conservatives and the liberals and all that. I feel like this is Canada's most comical election in the sense of how many jokes are being thrown out there when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the commercials are ridiculous. Like the one you're talking about, Trudeau. I remember when I came back to Canada a few months ago and I was here for a week and there was this commercial I saw and it was this Indian lady this Indian guy, this white lady and this other race. They were very different types of race. And then they're like, talking about Trudeau. Well, I like his idea, but he's just not ready yet. He's so young.
I saw that ad today.
I was like, did they really get this on TV?
Yeah, they did. And it's so funny. Like, one of the girls in that commercial goes, he's like a celebrity. And then the brown guy in that commercial is like, oh, he has great hair.
And I was like, okay, are you talking about Trump or are you talking about Trudeau?
No, they're obviously talking about Trudeau.
I know,
but it's like, so bad.
He's a celebrity,
yeah.
It's just so...
It's interesting the way that different parties are attacking each other.
Yes.
I guess, in a sense. Like, yeah, it's interesting.
It entertains me.
Yep.
To say the least.
It is, and it's kind of funny. Just to see the ads and stuff. Oh, I stand for this and this. In one ad, and then the next ad, they're like, this party sucks because of this, or they're not right for Canada because of this. It's just interesting.
And talking about voting, I know you and I were discussing this the other day when it comes to immigrants and, you know, voting, newcomers and whatnot. My parents will always vote conservative.
Really?
Always. The reason they'll do that is because when we first came to Canada, we were sponsored by a church. So
conservatives, right?
Yes.
Right wing,
very conservative. And my parents somehow try to connect conservative to Christianity and godliness.
That's
and whatnot.
exactly what my family did too.
And I was like, okay, just because the word conservative is there does not mean that they are God-fearing. Like, that's the thing. And I think with religion, it's done a great job connecting politics together with it. And
the government and religion should not be connected at all.
At all, because that person is the one who's trying to make the CEOs of major corporations richer. And what about you, mom and dad, or middle class or even lower class families out there? What are they doing for you?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. When George W. Bush was running. And I remember my grandma and people at my church being like, yeah, we want George W. Bush to win because he's Christian. Because, they totally play that up. They totally play that up down south.
Oh, my goodness.
They do, though.
They do. Are you kidding me? When George Bush was running, it was, this is a God-fearing family, and, he's looking out for America. And that's the thing. What did Bush do for America? And like we were saying earlier, Bush was very loud. Harper was just very quiet. And no one expected
it to go this way.
Yes.
Yeah. And Canada's not the same anymore. How Harper is sending troops into Syria and to fight ISIS and whatnot.
What is our Canadian military?
No, I know, but it's like that's where a lot of our money is going to. Like tax-paying money is going there.
I understand if America puts money into the military because America has a strong, big military. It really does. But Canada?
The Canadian military is also very large, and I thought being Canadian was being like accepting of other ethnicities and cultures and being just really friendly people.
Apparently not.
Apparently we're not Canadian. Now it just means something completely different being Canadian.
I feel like Canada just, we can't go and put our nose into every single war or
incident that happens across the ocean.
Like, let them deal with it first. And then go on in there. And on top of that, we don't have the technology that compared to what the States does.
I think that's false.
You think so?
I think it's false. I think that the government holds super, super advanced technology, and they obviously don't share it with the public. Come on, think about it.
Okay, but then why is
atomic bomb?
States?
Because a nuclear war would destroy the Earth. So they're not using that anymore. They've obviously have advanced weaponry. Think about in the 80s, so it's like 30 years ago now, first computer. And now we're walking around with computers in our pockets, and we've been walking around with computers in our pockets for almost 10 years now.
But what does that have to do with Canada?
I'm saying that you said that the U.S. has more advanced technology. I doubt that because we're so close to them.
Canada.
Well, I don't know. I think we're super close to them enough that Canada probably has a lot of technology up its sleeve as well. I don't know. For me, I don't think that.
Well, I'm saying that America has built more military weapons.
Yeah.
With the technology that they have compared to what Canada has to advance any sort of war. And America needs to do that because America is the big brother that steps in. And if you're going to step in, you better have big balls and guns with you.
Yeah, that's true.
So Canada doesn't, even if they do have secret weapons that they're holding on to, they're not the big brothers with big balls going in.
No, but I think that's what kind of Harper's trying to make us.
Yeah, Harper needs to relax, just like how Trump needs to relax.
Oh, yeah, he needs to settle down a bit.
Let's talk about Trump right now for a hot, quick second. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know how the American government works, I'll give you like a 2-second breakdown. Basically, there's primary elections where political parties pick their strongest candidate to run for presidency. Mm-hmm. And what happens is they have people go in and they vote. And that can happen 2 ways. That can happen in a caucus where you have a group of people that actually really sit together.
Yep.
And then they have a conversation and then they vote that way. Or you can have the other way where people go in and they actually tick a box off. Anyways, those votes actually go to a delegate. Mm-hmm. So each city has a delegate, and those delegate can either choose to vote the way that their people decided, or they can go against their votes and vote for a different party or whatnot, right? So a delegate.
Yes, who is the delegate?
So the delegate it's basically congressmen and just ex-presidents or just anyone in that, like just a congressman.
So it's
basically.
like the Senate in the Canadian Parliament. So a Senate, basically, everything has to. There's two classes or two houses. The higher house and the lower house. Lower house is House of Commons, where the Prime Minister and all the people who you vote for and whatnot, they have about 308 seats there.
Yes.
And then they bring it to the Senate, and then the Senate goes through their bills, and then they either pass it as a law or reject it or fine-tune it if they think that it's necessary for Canada.
With that, so that the states have something similar to that. And with them, though, when the people go and vote, the delegates is like the state representative.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I meant to say earlier.
So
they have a state representative who actually can vote.
Yeah.
For the people the same way they voted, or they can vote against. But usually they vote for. So a group of people go in and they say, we want the Democrat. We want John Doe Democrat. But if a delegate sees that and says, no, I actually don't want that, I'll vote for a Republican, the delegate has the ultimate higher power.
So then do most American citizens know this? Because then what's the point in voting?
Well, this is the breakdown. So this is the way it works, where that doesn't happen all the time. The delegate doesn't usually go against, but they do have the right to go against. Yeah, so the delegate can choose who they want to.
How do you get elected? Because I heard that D's Nuts ran and he had.
No,
I'm not even joking. That was on.
Hold on. Okay, let me break this down for you. Okay. So there's a primary election. I'll start over again.
Okay, primary election.
So the primary election, political parties. So the Democrat, the Republicans, they have a group of people who want to run for government, right?
Yeah.
So the political parties have the strongest candidate. They say, okay, so these are the strongest candidates, right? So then what they have is the primary election. So the local party leaders choose. So basically they go to the box and basically check off, okay, we want John to run for the Democratic for presidency, okay? Or depending on what state, they might have a caucus. So a caucus is basically you as the person, as John, go into this room and say, I want to be the person that's running for Democratic government. Please vote for me. And then Mary might go in and say, no, I'm a Republican. I want to be the one that runs. Please vote for me kind of thing.
Okay.
So then it gets decided that way. So then people literally go from side to side and they choose what side they want. After those votes are taken into account, they get sent to the delegates. So the delegate is basically a state representative. Right? So each state, depending on how many cities and people they all have a state representative. So now those state representatives sit down and they can either vote as the citizens did or ignore those votes completely and choose whomever they want.
Okay.
So that's just a law that's there that they can do that. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll go against the people, but they do. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But most of the time, they do go with the people. So then what happens is once that's all gathered, there's a national convention where all delegates get together and vote and select the party's nominee for presidency.
Oh.
So then those delegates go to the huge convention. At the huge convention, there's the super delegates. And the super delegates are the congressmen and the ex-presidents. These now are the lords. That can say, okay, so they have the final say on the votes. So then once that's done, so now we have Hillary, who is going to be running for presidency because we've chosen that for the Democrats. Yeah. So Hillary will be running for the Democrats. And then we have Donald Trump, who's the lead right now, who would be running for the Republicans.
Yeah.
So then once that's chosen, then after that they go on a fight campaign, and then the people go ahead and choose. There's another vote that happens again, and they. So choose.
Hillary won. I had no idea. Or is this?
No, this is
hearsay.
Just
I was
hearsay.
like, okay.
Yeah. This is all hearsay.
I have no idea what's going on in American politics. Only
so basically, right now that the standpoint that they're at, okay, the Democrats do not have a lot of people running. So that's why Hillary, her only competition is a guy named Bernie Sanders, who's actually really good. He's really on point with certain things that he's saying. So that's her biggest competition right now in her party.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Republicans, they have Trump leading, which is so surprising. So one thing that's interesting about Trump is that he started to run as an independent party by himself. And then later on, he decided to go Republican because he realized, I own a multi-billion-dollar company, and Republicans, what are they going to do? They want less taxes for the companies and more taxes to put towards the poor people, you know what I mean? And they also want to put more money into the army. That's what they don't want social programs. They really don't care to put more money into that. Now, Hillary's biggest competitor right now then is Trump, and this can go any way. Trump could win, Trump could lose, but at the end of the day, it looks like as of right now, it might be a Trump and Hillary presidency unless Jeb Bush comes up and beats Trump. So that's the way it's looking right now. Now, Hillary is interesting because she's a woman, right? So she stands up for women's rights.
It's like round 2, though.
Yeah, she
round 2 for Hillary.
Round 2 for Hillary. She also has that publicity there. But Trump, the reason why Trump is succeeding is because he's actually a celebrity. Yeah. And he has a face. Mind you, in 2000, Trump tried to run for presidency. The reason he didn't make it was because he lost in California.
He's going to pull out,
Yeah, so this is his second time going at it, but this is the furthest he's ever gone. And Trump, he believes that low-income families, if they get more money, won't do anything for themselves. So he basically believes in you got to work hard to get to where you are. And we all know he went bankrupt 3 times.
Yep.
So we're aware of that. But he funded his own campaign to begin with. But now, obviously, he is getting money because he needs more money to keep campaigning and whatnot. But that's basically what it comes down to with that. I mean, Trump does say some very idiotic things. If you go to YouTube and type in shit Trump says, very interesting.
Yeah, let's build a wall.
And
I'm gonna discipline Mexico. No, honestly, some of the stuff he says too, and I really.
But don't you think
Come on, America?
Yes, but it's like another Bush all over again. But at least Trump owns it. That's one thing I gotta give to Trump. He has balls and he owns it.
Well, he doesn't give a fuck. Everyone knows Trump doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't. And that's one thing, I mean, I have to respect that. When someone doesn't give a fuck, I respect that to a certain degree. Not all of it, but to a certain degree. He's not hiding.
But he clearly doesn't give a fuck about a majority of the American people if he doesn't care about social programming or low-income families. And
I mean, as in the sense he doesn't give a fuck when he says, like, politicians can be bought. No one can buy me because I have the money and I run my own company.
No, but so I'm saying that
I respect, but the other shit, of course.
No, when I said that, I mean, like, he just honestly doesn't give a fuck about anything. About anything.
He doesn't. But it just goes to show, if he's on top, it just goes to show how much of America is racist.
Something I wanted to actually get in with you. You know how we were talking about immigrants and voting in Canada, like your family and whatnot. So Sia came back and she told me that there was something called a second-class citizenship. And I kind of looked into that. Mm-hmm. So like I said earlier, so the Senate passes bills. Bills are brought to the Senate from the House of Commons, which is led by whichever party's leader. So when you are voting for Conservative, NDP, or Liberals, you're voting for people in that riding. So about where you live and stuff, and then they send people to the House of Commons, there are 308 seats, and whichever party has the most holdings or most voting, their leader is in charge.
Okay. Yes.
So bills get sent to the Senate to get passed. Bill C-24.
Yes.
So basically that means unless you were born in Canada, you can have your citizenship stripped away. Which I think is really stupid, because if you've lived in this country for years, like you've lived here for 10 years, you could get your citizenship taken away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had an issue with that at first. So I freaked out because I read into it and it was saying that you're second class. You can't travel to another country to get educated because then your citizenship can get taken away. You can't leave. So I was like, okay, I go back and forth from the States a lot. And also I go to the States to study with acting. So I go down there. So I call the Canadian government and just the customer service, and I called them and the lady is like, oh, so basically what it is that if you come from a terrorist country or a country that that's underneath the terrorist law, then that's when it could impact you. But if you're just going to America, then you should be fine. And my thing is, I've heard so many crazy stories when it comes to, you know, like there's one story that's going on right now. This lady's from BC. Her daughter was born in South Africa.
Yep.
And she's trying to get her, like, husband and daughter and everything to come here, and the Canadian government told her the wrong information and the wrong papers to file.
Really?
And now her kids, they won't let the child come back here because they're saying that the child will take the government's, the Canadian citizenship and potentially end up taking jobs from people. And we're like, it's a child.
Yeah.
What is a child? What
Her
job
family's here.
Is a child going to take? So her husband and her daughter are in
still
South
there.
Africa.
Oh, and she's here now.
Yes, and she's here. So it's just like, for me, I'm just like, okay, so then what happens then if I go to the States and then my country, Sierra Leone, becomes a terrorist country out of nowhere because who knows what happens in this world? Now all of a sudden my citizenship is revoked.
Yeah.
And since when, if I'm considered a second-class citizen, then every single white person that lives in Canada should be considered a second-class citizen.
Exactly.
Because guess what? The natives are the ones that were here first.
And I feel so bad for them because it's originally their country, you know, and alcoholism has been bred into them. They're uneducated. They live on reserves with no good water, and you know, people get raped and people go missing and no one cares. Like, it's terrible.
It's a lot, but I just feel like I said before, Harper is very silent, and this whole second citizenship thing,
a lot of people didn't know about it
out of nowhere.
Like
and at the end of the
June this
day,
year.
they can use the fact that, guess what? It was on the internet. You just had to go and look it up.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you look up something you don't know?
No, exactly.
What would make me go on the internet and research, am I a second-class citizen?
Honestly, like, if you didn't tell me, oh yeah, I'm having troubles, like, with getting back to the States because apparently I'm a second-class citizen, I don't know, I'll call you back. Like, if you never said that to me, I would have never looked it up and I would have never learned about it. Mm-hmm. And there are petitions going right now because it still needs to be passed through the Senate to become actual law. Mm-hmm. But,
and
yeah.
I'm sorry. What terrorist group is going to bomb Canada? And when was the last time we had a bomb? America, of all places, where I expect this coming from. Mm-hmm. America, not Canada. If you show a Canadian map to someone in Iran or someone that's in one of those countries, they would think it's America. Like,
or just
America.
A part of it or something.
Or
just
a big land that's empty.
Yeah. But, you know, it's obviously ISIS. ISIS is still out there. And then there was that whole no fly zone bill thing that Harper wanted to pass. Basically, there's actually an interview, or, you know, when you could ask the leaders, you know, questions, and interviewers would ask. And so this one journalist asked him, so there's no fly zone, so what if someone wants to go visit their family at a refugee camp or in that country? And Harper's answer was, there are no families there. What? There are no so if I am in Canada and I've lived in Canada for 20 years, but my sister and her family, or my brother and his family are there, I can't fly over to visit them? No.
Oh my goodness. Is Trump and Harper, are they sharing the same campaign executives?
Maybe, who knows? Like, honestly, there's puppetry behind government. There has to be. If you really don't believe that or think that, you should kind of look into it. There's a lot of information out there. You just have to filter through it and really look into it. But
you really do. And sometimes you might think, this is the craziest thing. That could never happen. Like, I never suspected that I'd be considered a second-class citizen after all the money and everything that my family has put into this country. It's like,
Yep. You never know unless you go out there and look for it. But what are you looking for?
For all the crazy things. It really hit a nerve, and I'd love to go on and on about this.
It's obviously peeves our pussy. How people...
What peeves
my pussy? What peeves my pussy? No, honestly, you know what peeves my pussy is just the kind of ignorance people have about their government. Like, people don't want to learn, or people don't want to vote because they didn't really look into it. But it's your right as a citizen. Don't be a useless citizen. Be a good citizen and look into what people stand for and make your vote around that. Don't let other people influence you. Don't let religion influence you. You know, do the research, see what people stand for, and if that's if you think that's right for Canada or the U.S.
Yes.
when that time comes for the presidential elections and whatnot,
and go
out there and vote.
The amount of time you'll spend watching a makeup tutorial on YouTube or a hockey game, you can go and research. Just takes 10 minutes and figure it out, because at the end of the day, it's you and your children and your grandchildren that are going to have to deal with the results of you not voting now. And by the time you want to do it, it's going to be too late. Just like how right now we all thought Harper was going to be, not all of us, most of us knew he wasn't, but it took those people to voice it, and now we're listening to them. So go out there and vote on the 19th. And also,
so that's Monday.
Yes.
This goes on Wednesday, so we hope you voted.
Yes. So we hope you voted on the 19th. I recant what I just said.
Yeah,
and for next year, Americans, go out and vote.
Yep. Be smart about it. Educate yourself.
It does, because whatever you choose, especially America, I don't know if you guys know this, but whatever you choose, whoever you decide to run your country, impacts the world.
It really does.
It really impacts the world.